In the still, shadowed waters of central Mexico, there is an animal that refuses to grow up. It keeps the face of a larva, the gills of a newborn, the body of something unfinished. And yet, it lives. It hunts. It heals. This is Ambystoma mexicanum, the axolotl. Nothing about it follows the rules. Most animals are shaped by a simple, relentless pressure: grow, transform, adapt, or die. But the axolotl does something that feels wrong. It stops permanently. It reaches sexual maturity without ever completing its metamorphosis. It becomes an adult while remaining trapped in its juvenile form, a body, frozen in an earlier chapter of life. In nature, this should be a death sentence. Instead, it is the axolotl's greatest weapon. Axolotls are salamanders, and salamanders are defined by transformation. Their lives usually follow a clear trajectory from egg to aquatic larva to land-dwelling adult. Gills recede, lungs take over, limbs strengthen. The body prepares for a harsher world above water. The axolotl never makes that journey. Its external gills, feathered, crimson, and permanently exposed, are not temporary organs. They are lifelong structures, waving slowly in the water like something ornamental or unfinished. Its lungs exist but are secondary. Its skin remains soft, permeable, and vulnerable. Its skeleton retains larval characteristics, never fully hardening. By every conventional measure, this animal is incomplete, and yet it reproduces. This phenomenon has a name: Neoteny, the retention of juvenile traits into adulthood. Neoteny exists elsewhere in nature, but nowhere is it taken to this extreme. The axolotl is not merely delayed, it has opted out entirely. One leading explanation points to its environment. The axolotl evolved in a very specific place, the ancient lake systems of the Valley of Mexico, particularly Lake Xochimilco. These waters were cold, deep, and stable. Food was abundant, predators were limited. The land beyond the water was dry, unpredictable, and dangerous. For most salamanders, leaving the water is necessary to survive. For the axolotl, it never was. Metamorphosis is not free, it is costly. It requires massive hormonal changes, energy expenditure, and risk. In an environment where staying aquatic was safer than leaving, natural selection favored those that did not transform at all. So evolution did something unusual. It removed the pressure to grow up. But this decision came with consequences. The axolotl's biology did not just freeze in time. It diverged. Its endocrine system, the hormonal machinery that controls development, behaves differently. Thyroid hormones, which normally trigger metamorphosis in amphibians, are present, but muted. The signal to change exists, but it is never fully delivered. The animal lives in a permanent state of arrested development, and yet, under certain artificial conditions, metamorphosis can be forced. When exposed to specific hormones, axolotls can transform into a more typical salamander form. They lose their gills, their skin thickens, their body reshapes for land. Most do not survive long after. It is as if the axolotl's body was never meant to finish the process. Something fundamental has been rewired. Then there is the healing. Axolotls do not heal the way other animals do. They regenerate, lose a limb and it grows back. Bone, muscle, nerves, skin, perfectly reconstructed. Damage the spinal cord and function can return. Portions of the heart, sections of the brain, even parts of the eye. This is not scar tissue, this is restoration. At the center of this ability is a process that feels disturbingly precise. Cells near the injury do not panic, they do not scar, they revert. Mature cells step backward in time, becoming flexible again, forming a structure called a blastema, a mass of undifferentiated cells that knows exactly what is missing and exactly how to rebuild it. No cancerous growth, no chaotic regeneration, just control. In most animals, this level of cellular freedom is dangerous. Unchecked cell division is the foundation of cancer. In the axolotl, it is somehow restrained. The same biological immaturity that froze its development may also be what allows its body to rebuild itself again and again. A body that never fully commits, never fully locks its cells into irreversible roles. This raises an unsettling question. Is the axolotl's refusal to grow up the very reason it cannot be permanently broken? But perfection has a cost. The axolotl is extraordinarily specialized. It is adapted to one narrow set of conditions in one fragile ecosystem. Its skin is thin, its lungs are weak. On land, it is clumsy and vulnerable. Even in water, it relies on stillness and ambush, rather than speed or strength. It survives not because it dominates its environment, but because it was perfectly shaped by it. And when that environment disappeared, the axolotl had nowhere to go. The lakes it evolved in were drained, polluted, and fragmented. Predators it never evolved to face were introduced. Its hyper-specialized body, once an evolutionary advantage, became a liability. In the wild, the axolotl is now critically endangered. An animal that conquered injury, regeneration, and time itself, undone by a world that changed faster than it could. But the story does not end there. While the axolotl was vanishing from its natural habitat, it was spreading somewhere else. Laboratories, aquariums, research facilities. Human-controlled environments where its abnormal biology could be observed, manipulated, and preserved, and that is where the axolotl becomes something else entirely. Not just an evolutionary anomaly, but a biological key, one that may unlock processes humans were never meant to control. The deeper scientists look into how this creature heals, resists aging, and rewrites cellular rules, the more uncomfortable the implications become. The axolotl does not just challenge what an animal is supposed to be. It challenges what development, damage, and irreversibility actually mean. And once those rules break, they do not stay broken in just one species. In laboratories far from the canals of Xochimilco, the axolotl lives on, suspended in glass tanks under artificial light in conditions far removed from the world that shaped it. Here, its biology is no longer just observed, it is interrogated. Because the axolotl does not simply regenerate tissue, it reopens doors that evolution sealed shut in most animals long ago. When a human limb is lost, the body responds with speed and finality. Cells rush to close the wound. Scar tissue forms. The damage is stabilized, but never reversed. This is not failure. It is restraint. A safety mechanism that prevents cells from dividing too freely, from forgetting what they are. The axolotl does not follow this rule. After injury, its cells behave as if the concept of too late and does not exist. Muscle cells abandon their identity. Bone cells loosen their structure. Nerve cells regrow with precision. Blood vessels rebuild their networks without error. This level of control requires something extraordinary. The axolotl's genome is vast, over 10 times larger than the human genome. Not because it has more genes, but because it contains immense regulatory regions, long stretches of DNA devoted not to building structures, but to controlling when, where, and how cells behave. It is not brute force regeneration. It is orchestration. Every regrown limb follows an invisible blueprint, one that remembers what was there before injury and what should be there again. Front limbs regrow as front limbs, left stays left, right stays right. The body never confuses itself. This precision unsettles researchers for a reason, because it suggests that the information needed to rebuild complex structures is not lost with development. It is merely silenced. In most animals, including humans, development is a narrowing path. As cells specialize, Possibilities disappear. Flexibility is exchanged for stability. The body becomes efficient but rigid. The axolotl never fully makes that exchange. Its arrested development preserves a cellular openness that other vertebrates abandon early in life. Cells remain closer to a decision point, able to move backward as well as forward. This is why regeneration is possible. And it is also why the axolotl rarely develops cancer, despite its extraordinary capacity for cell division. It is not immune, but it is controlled. The same systems that allow cells to forget their identity also know precisely when to stop. Understanding how this balance is maintained has become one of the most quietly intense pursuits in modern biology. Because if these regulatory systems could be safely understood, replicated even partially, it would force a reckoning with what medicine considers irreversible. Spinal injuries, degenerative disease, organ failure. These are not just medical problems, they are evolutionary limits. And the axolotl lives beyond them. There is another aspect that complicates the story further. The axolotl barely ages. It matures sexually, but its body shows few signs of progressive decline. Its cells divide repeatedly without the same accumulation of damage seen in other vertebrates. Telomeres, the protective caps on chromosomes that shorten with age, are maintained with unusual stability. Time, for the axolotl, behaves differently. Not frozen, but slowed, smoothed, and buffered. This is not immortality. Axolotls die. They succumb to disease, stress, and poor conditions. But aging does not dominate their biology the way it does ours. Once again, the pattern repeats. A body that never fully commits to adulthood also never fully commits to deterioration. And yet, for all its biological power, the axolotl is fragile. Remove it from water, and it suffocates. Expose it to pollution, and its permeable skin absorbs toxins without defense. Introduce aggressive fish, and it cannot compete. Alter the temperature, and its metabolism falters. It cannot adapt quickly. It cannot migrate. Its evolutionary success was built on environmental stability, on a world that stayed the same long enough for specialization to become safe. When that world vanished, the axolotl did not evolve to escape it. It survived only because humans intervened. Today, the vast majority of axolotls exist in captivity, carefully bred, genetically tracked, preserved as research organisms and symbols of regenerative promise. In the wild, they are nearly gone. An organism that mastered repair, unable to repair the damage done to its own ecosystem. There is a quiet irony here. The axolotl's biology hints at futures humans desperately want to understand. How to heal without scars, how to rebuild without loss, how to resist the slow decay of time. And yet, the creature itself depends entirely on human protection to continue existing. Its abnormality made it extraordinary. Its specialization made it vulnerable. Evolution did not design the axolotl to be resilient in a changing world. It designed it to thrive in a stable one. And when stability disappeared, no amount of regeneration could compensate. The axolotl forces an uncomfortable realization. Progress is not linear. More development is not always better. More specialization is not always safer. Sometimes survival comes from restraint, from refusing to advance, from staying unfinished. The axolotl is not a mistake. It is not a miracle. It is a reminder that nature explores paths we rarely consider and abandons them just as easily. In the still water where it evolved, refusing to grow up was the perfect solution. Everywhere else, it became a risk. And that is why nothing about the axolotl is normal, because it reveals a version of life that chose not to move forward and discovered what becomes possible when it does not.